just tell you very quickly what are we going to show you today. So it will be like a demonstration. So that's why we don't have any slides right now. So we'll go very quickly about basic Slack functionality. We'll introduce you to a workspace, how to set up profile. We'll tell you some basic information about channels, direct messages, etc. Then we'll talk a little bit about what kind of data we can share through Slack. And then Kristen will tell you some rules, Slack rules that we call Slack etiquette. And then I will show you very quickly some apps that integrate with Slack. Of course, we would like to have this presentation to be as interactive as possible. So if you have any questions, please join our conversation. Please interrupt us. If you have some tips that you would like to share with us, you can type anything in a chat, or you can just say whatever you feel. And also, Rachel, please feel free to chime in if there are some information you would like to add to our presentation, or maybe if you would like to mention how things are done in Department of Surgery, how you are using Slack. We will be very happy if you can share that information with us. Okay, so at the beginning, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay, and I'm going to share a document that we created for our research team, social science research team. It's called Introduction to Stanford Slack. I will share it with you a little bit later because I don't want to distract you right now. But in this document, you will find almost everything that we are going to cover today, plus some at the end of the document. You can go to some, if you want to dig deeper, if you want to find more information about Slack, you will find more resources here. And so I'm assuming that most of you use Slack, but I'm not sure about that. So that's why we will start from the beginning, very quickly, how to join Slack. So also in this document, there is a link that Stanford provides a lot of information about Slack and also how to join Slack. So if you click this link, it will you will go to Stanford Slack website, and you will see exactly how to join in. So Stanford has its own workspace, which is called stanford.enterprise, and this is what you will need to type. So you can use Slack as a website application, but you can also download it as a desktop application, or if you are using your iPhone or other device, you can have Slack on that as well. And you can see here that you can download and install the Slack app or launch Slack from the web browser. And then you will sign in with Stanford using your Stanford credentials. And then you will be directed to Workspace because everything in Slack takes place in Workspace. And within Workspace, there are channels that Kristen is going to tell you more about. So to be able to use Slack, you will need to join at least one workspace. And as you can see, I joined like 4 workspaces: Stanford School of Medicine, Surgery Department, Stanford School of Medicine Research Staff, and our S-SPIRE Center. So our S-SPIRE Center is called S-SPIRE Center. And you can search for any workspace at Stanford, but by enter your teammate teammate name or specific workspace. So for example, I would like to join the same workspaces as Kristen joins, right? So I'm just type Kristen, and then I see that she is a member of 3 workspaces. I'm I'm a member of these workspaces as well, so I'm not able to join them. But if you are not, then you can click here, you will be able to join. So sometimes you can just join without any approval. Sometimes there is an admin who will need to approve your request. So you are able to join. What else? What I wanted to tell you? Yeah. Yeah. So this is basically it. It's not very difficult. It's not rocket science. But what I want to show you also, that if I launched S-SPIRE Center in Slack, so what I'm doing right now, I'm using desktop, not desktop, but website, Slack website, and this is how you can use it. But I honestly prefer using my desktop application, and we will go there and I will show you how I use it. Okay, so we're switching screens, and we are right now in my desktop application, my desktop Slack application. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the profile, and then Kristen will tell you other stuff about channels. So as you can see, on the left side, on the sidebar, you can see the workspaces I'm the member of. So I'm a member of 4 workspaces, and it's S-SPIRE Center, Surgery Department, School of Medicine, and School of Medicine Research Staff. And you can just switch between those workspaces. So you can actually choose one of them to be able to write messages and post anything. I will stay here at S-SPIRE Center. The profile. Right now, we will talk about profile and notification changes. So here on the top, just next to S-SPIRE Center, there's a small arrow. And if you click this, like all the profile changes, the notification changes you can make will show up. So I will go to a profile and account. I don't know, how do you see my, okay. And as you can see, this is my profile, and what I can do, I can edit it, just clicking edit. And you can upload your picture. You don't have to do it, of course. You can change your full name, display name. You can mention what you are doing at S-SPIRE, put your phone number, and this is what I did. And you can also put a lot of information here, whatever you feel like your coworkers, it will be useful for you and for your coworkers. I didn't do it. I don't find it very useful, but I found useful put my phone number and display name and my full name. And give me just a second. I will check what I wanted to tell you. Okay. Yeah, and you can simply save your changes. And also, what is very useful and important is to change however you like your status. And it's also here under the, if you click here, the small arrow, and go to profile and account, and then next to status, you click edit, and you are able to edit your status. So I clear this right now, and I'm setting up right now. So you can choose that you are in the meeting, so your coworkers know that they, if they send message to you, you wouldn't respond. You can set out commuting, out sick, vacationing. I'm working remotely, so this is what I'm doing. And you can also set up when this message will be cleared. So I know that I will be working from home until the end of this week. So I'm clicking this, and I click save, and this status will be there by the end of the week. Also, what I find very useful is away status. So right now, you can see next to my name, the small Z thing. It means that I'm not active anymore, because my do not disturb hours are from 5 p.m. Until 8 a.m. But usually this dot is green, but you can set it as away. and it's, see, it's like changing color. It's not green anymore, and it means that you are not available at Slack. What I also find very useful is notification, some preferences you would like to set up. So you click preferences and go to notification, and it basically gives you information how you are getting notifications and how you see your desktop application. So it also depends on your preferences. You can set it up as you like. So you can be notified about all messages, only about direct messages, mentions, and keywords, or you can just put basically do not disturb, and you won't be notified about anything. For me, the most useful is to be notified about direct messages, mentions, and keywords. And also I set up a different notification for my social science research team channel. It means that I'm getting all messages, I'm notified about all messages I'm getting from them. What else? Do not disturb. You don't want to, even if you put your laptop on sleep mode, you don't want to be notified during the night. So I think it's good to set up do not disturb, and also you can play with how do you want to have your notifications, what kind of sound, etc. For me, it's also useful to show this icon on when I got any notification. So it will show, basically will show here. If I get any notification, I will see here that. So this is also very useful for me. Okay, go back. You can set up your language and region, and how do you want to see your content on Slack. It's also like, it's up to you. How do you prefer to have it? You can play with themes. Maybe you would like to see your Slack, white, or maybe chocomint, or maybe dark mode. I mean, it's up to you. You can play with that. Also, sidebar. This is also very useful, and I think that it also depends how many channels you are members of, or you are observing, following, or how many people you are messaging with. Sometimes maybe you don't want to see everything. Maybe you would like to see unreads only. You can see that my sidebar changes when I change the appearance button. For me, I'm not getting many messages at Slack, so I would like to see everything I have. And you can also sort by alphabetical order, priority. Also, like, this is your preference. What do you prefer or not? How do you see your messages and other notification preferences? Okay. One more thing I would like to mention. I'm not sure if Kristen is going to mention the show activity and show start item. Kristen, are you going to talk about that?
Yeah, I was going to go ahead and talk about that as well.
Okay, so I think that would be it about the profile and profile changes. I think that the most important is to set up your status so other people know if you are available or not. And if you feel it useful, maybe just put your name and your role at Stanford. Yeah, so I think it would be it. I will stop sharing my screen, and maybe Kristen, do you wanna start?
Yeah, thank you, Marzena, for that intro. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. So I use the Slack app here that's posted down here on my bar instead of logging into it on through Google or through any website, which is I just find very easy. So first, let me just talk about the channels that are within your workspace. So as you can see, I'm in the S-SPIRE Center workspace. And just so everybody knows, Anna is the administrator for the S-SPIRE workspace. So if you request to get into this workspace, she would be the one that would be allowing you to get in it. And as you can see on the side, we have, I have 4 channels. The general channel is in every workspace. Encompasses all sorts of general knowledge that is shareable for everybody. We've also created several ones in our workspace, as you can see here, just to kind of, right now, make it easier to live while being at home and working from home. And we also have, with our group, an S-SPIRE research team workspace, which includes myself, Marzena, and Sylvia. And so basically channels just are clearly single space for the team within the workspace to share messages. The channels that have the number signs are public channels. So everyone within that workspace can see anything that is posted within these. The locked channels are private channels. So this channel is specific to just me, Marzena, and Sylvia. And channels can be created by anyone. However, they cannot be deleted. So, for example, Anna would have to go in and clear up all the channels. So it's best not to make a bunch of channels because you can't remove them once you do that. It's a bit more complicated. So it's best to keep the channels to a minimum if you can. The workspace owner is the only one who can remove them. And again, with private channels, this is good for discussions in between teams. So like I said, it's me, Marzena, and Sylvia. And you have to get invited by the creator for a private channel. So I can't just randomly join someone's private channel, without them approving that, which is a big difference, obviously, between public and private. All right. So moving on to direct messages. So everybody has a little Slack bot direct message where you kind of is like a help center within Slack, which can be very useful if you're trying to get used to it or have a simple question. I actually find that the Slack help, like even online, is actually pretty good and pretty clear with the instructions and help they give with anything that you need to learn with Slack. So the direct messages are like one-on-one messages, similar to a text message, if you will, and they're between just you and that particular person. So I have some with Anna, Marzena, and Sylvia, and these can be deleted off of your kind of dashboard. So if you want to talk to someone real quick, so you shoot them a message, it's probably best to create direct messages. You can also create a group DM with up to 8 people, which, it's still a lot of people in terms of looking at channels versus direct messages. But again, these can be deleted on and off. So, again, if it's something that's, a one-time message you need to send somebody or something quick to talk to someone about, this is the best route to go, I would say, because anybody can create the direct message and you can remove them as needed. I think that's everything about direct messages, unless anybody else had anything else to add. It's pretty straightforward with that. And also within direct messages, let's talk about the reactions, threads, and you can share messages, star messages. So, the Slack bot's giving me all these tips. I can give it a thumbs up for fun. Or share this if I find this really helpful and I think it'd be helpful for the whole group. I can share this with, the whole group or, a particular person within my workspace. I can star it so I can go back to see that this was helpful and I've starred that. So, that will, there we go, have something I can be able to look up later. And speaking of starred, just what Marzena mentioned earlier up here near the search bar, since I starred this down here, if I click on all my starred items, it'll show everything that I've starred throughout all of Slack. So, if you want to look at things you either favorited or starred or marked as important, it'll list everything here for you.
I think we will be, may I interrupt you? Sorry about that. I was playing with the star thing, and I think it only applied to your workspace. So if you start something in, let's say, a S-SPIRE workspace, then I think you wouldn't be able to see it in a surgery workspace. I think so, but
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's good to know. Yeah, so whatever starred in that particular workspace is what you're going to see. All right, and also within messages, I'll just show you an example here. Oops, not this one, sorry. SSR team. So for example, Sylvia sent me and Marzena kind of a document about Zoom meetings, and she added both of us. So you can show activity up here, and it'll show everything that, every message within this workspace that has been added at you. So you can, again, look through everything that may apply to you in one spot, so you don't have to go searching through all of your messages and things like that. And quickly over here again, just wanted to show how you can label your channels and direct messages. So I can, star this so it's listed under starred. You can mute channels so you're not getting a ton of notifications if there's a lot of talk and chatter going on in one channel. You can also leave the channels if you prefer not to be in them. And you can also do that with your direct messages as well. And another interesting thing about Slack is you can create threads. So the purpose of the threads that Slack has made is to kind of make it a bit more organized. So for example, Sylvia sent this message and I started a thread within it. And under my threads, this is going to pertain, so it's just between me and Sylvia. So Marzena is not getting with this message. So say I just want to talk to Sylvia specifically about this Zoom meeting PDF she sent me. Her and I can talk back and forth without disturbing Marzena specifically about this here. So it just creates like a separate kind of like little area that you can focus on what that one topic was outside of your channel or your direct message, if it's a group direct message. So it's very helpful for teams that are doing, like, working a lot in Slack, and there's a lot of conversations happening, and maybe there's tasks being said. Being able to separate out that particular task from someone and have these separate threads is pretty helpful. And you can see your threads up here on the left as well. And threads you can unfollow if you're they're past the time you need to look at them and things like that. All right, so let's go over the search bar here. I'm not sure if this does this for anybody else, but it appears very oddly there in the left-hand corner. But you can kind of search for, say you want to look up, oops, can't spell right now. Look up all the surgeries that are all the different departments of surgery that may have Slack channels. You can look those up. You can look up different people within here. You can also look up specific topics. So within the whole Stanford University, all the Slack topics that are being shared, that's something that can be looked up. I don't really use the search bar, but I think it's useful if you're, really trying to find something maybe specific that you have no idea where it may be mentioned or who said it. It may be pretty helpful to use that. And also Slack, I'm not going to go over a bunch of shortcuts because it's very dependent on your type of computer. So if you click here to the right, there are keyboard shortcuts that they have, what's new, help, organization directory, all these different things. So Slack is once you learn it, it's very easy, and within it, it makes it pretty simple to find help if you need it. And also, again, they have little shortcuts that you can use. Now, talking about what is shareable on Slack, Stanford IRT, it is not approved for PHI or any high-risk data, so that's important for everybody to remember. It's more used for communication, maybe task building, to-do lists, but any sort of data, high-risk data, PHI, is not approved to be shared over Slack. And there's also a general, I'm going to share this with our general team here, actually. So this is Slack etiquette tips. A lot of these, are talking about trying not to, send unwanted messages to people to where they're getting, tons and tons of notifications that don't really apply to them, because that defeats the purpose of wanting to use Slack for that reason. So just, etiquette tips, again, use direct messages if you need to talk to someone in particular. Try and keep the general conversations to, a minimum, nothing, not tons of messages being sent back and forth, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I sent that link to the general for our S-SPIRE team here. And I believe that pretty much covers everything with channels and direct messages and those little small tips. If anybody had any other comments or questions.
We have a question. How any example of how this can be useful to a research group?
Well, an example of how it can be used for a research group. Well, let's see
for example, like I would say like instant communication, right? So we don't need to send emails every time we would like to mention something to someone, but we can just send a direct message.
I agree. Yeah, and I think this is really useful for everyone's teleworking, because it can be used for simple things where maybe you don't need to have a 3-way or 4-way phone call. You can easily get on here and direct message a group of 2 people, maybe 3 people, and kind of get your answers and get whatever needed said done relatively quickly. And so I think that's useful. I think if anyone's having getting kind of frustrated with the amount of Zoom phone calls or phone calls in general they may be having to do while teleworking, this is a good option to consider. Especially for things that can be really quickly, if it's just something to be said or a quick little comment about something, it's definitely very useful in that way.
Kristen, this is all written communication, correct?
Written?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So like suppose, for example, that a group is doing some kind of reviewing data from an analysis or something like that. So questions that may come up about the variables that went into the model, stuff like that. Is that a way that it could be useful to a research group?
I think that could be, yes. Everyone has seen that data, and there may be just a few questions about certain things. I think that would be a good example of how this could be used.
And you can also...
Could I give an example?
Yeah.
So if you guys let me share my slide, my desktop, I can show you how we're using it for a different project, research project.
Oh, sure.
No. How can we do it? Oh, okay.
There you go.
All right, so this is a project that we got roped into about 10 days ago, and it's all about COVID, and it was set up from some folks in Hopkins, but it's quickly mutated. So there's a COVID Italy, there's a general discussion, they're trying to use Medicare data, they're trying to develop a clinical trial, so they've developed this channel with outcome definitions for a clinical trial. There are dozens of messages that come out. We're taking part in the VA one. So this is Laura, Liam, and myself, and you can see that this goes up. This all started the 24th when we created this channel. We tried to figure out if we could mine in real time VA data to figure out are there medications that people are taking that would put them at increased risk or decreased risk for COVID. And Liam and Lauren have just started pushing results out as of Wednesday, April 1st. So that's sort of miraculous, but you get to see that it's all threaded, and you can have these discussions with folks that are in totally different time zones where you keep the threads going. So then we start pushing, saying, what are the clinical markers that we need to push on? And Max is a neurologist at Hopkins. So we sort of pushing back on those topics and keep it all threaded. So it's very helpful in this regard.
And then you can go back and scan your discussions so you don't necessarily have to re-adjudicate the same decisions that you've made before.
Yeah, or losing emails, right? So what I always hate about Outlook is they thread these things, but invariably you delete one, you lose everything, you can't figure out what, box it's in. So it's a real pain.
Yeah, that's a great example.
And you can also have very quick access to all the files that were shared via this channel. So it's also very, very easy if you want to just go through it. And one more thing, I will be talking a little bit later about the Slack application. So there are several applications that you can integrate with Slack, and one of them is Google Drive. So if you integrate your Google Drive with Slack, then if you share some document with some other people, you will get notified every time when there is any change in the document. So let's say someone will edit it, someone will add some information, someone will add a comment. You will get notification via Slack. And if there's a lot of comments, you will get a lot of notifications. So maybe it wouldn't be that useful, but it also maybe served as a collaboration tool, right?
One thing I wanted to add, when Arden was saying, and it's all written, I have had a couple of discussions where it's just not working over text. And there is, in the application, there's a nice little phone. I don't know if anyone else has seen it, but you can actually you can call someone and have a voice conversation really quick just to make sure that you're all on the same page. And that's just something I've really enjoyed.
If I can show you something, I will share my screen with you and I will show you something that I find very useful. I integrate my Zoom with the Slack. And what you can do with Zoom, I will go to, so my Zoom is integrated with Slack. And when I type /Zoom and enter, it will create instant Zoom meeting. You need to wait a couple seconds. It takes some time. Oh, okay, you see. So let's say, so it's very quick way to just set up Zoom meeting. So I posted it and everyone in the channel, I mean, this is only myself this time, but if you are collaborating with more people, then you can set up a instant Zoom meeting. What you can also do is you can have a Zoom meeting and you can name the meeting, and again you need to wait a couple seconds. See, it shows up as a research meeting started by myself, and people can join, like just click one button. So this is the example of integration with other applications, and it may be also useful if you are working on some research project and you want to connect very quickly. Yeah.
So Marzena, can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
So if you share your screen in the Zoom meeting, will it be recorded in Slack?
I don't know if I share my screen. So do you mean if you join me via Slack?
Yeah, like the reason that I could think of for having an instant Zoom meeting would be, number one, if you want to speak to speed up the communication process, or number two, if you want to share a screen to better convey whatever it is you're trying to describe. So I
didn't check it. I just checked it myself. So it's difficult to say. But if you click join, then your Zoom will show up. So actually, you wouldn't be speaking, having this conversation in Slack, but it will open the new Zoom, the new Zoom box, and you will be speaking in Zoom. So you will be able to share your screen, but not via Slack, but via Zoom.
And then the recording, a link to the recording of the Zoom meeting would then appear in the Slack channel.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Thank you. As I said, I just checked it with with myself. So it's hard to say, but it sounds very interesting, especially if you are collaborating with other people and you would like to talk to them very quickly. Yeah, so, and also I will show you a little bit of this Google Drive. So I integrated Google Drive with my Slack, and I shared some documents with Sylvia, and she made some comments on that, and I got notified about that. So I knew that she's doing that. So she didn't need to send me email or anything. I knew what she's doing, and I was able to, you are able to open the document just by clicking it very, very quickly. So it's also very useful. The other application I find useful is Outlook. So I integrate my Outlook with Slack, and if you click there, it shows all the meetings you have during the day, but it also shows when you have a Zoom meeting. It gives you an option to just click and connect in the meeting. So for me, it's easier than to go to Outlook and copy and paste out, Outlook the link. I just click join Zoom meeting, and again, it will direct me to Zoom. I wouldn't be able to speak via Slack, but it will direct me to Zoom using only one click. And so what I would like to suggest, you can just check what applications are you using and just find out if it would be something useful for you. You see that this app on the sidebar, this app thing and this plus button, you can browse apps, and whatever whatever application you have on your mind, you can just integrate with Slack and see how it's working. Yeah, I found only some of them useful, and I think Rachel, also we asked you about that, and you don't use that many of application with Slack.
No, my favorite one is definitely Giphy.
Oh, Giphy is very interesting. I have Giphy as well. So Giphy. So if you type Giphy and then some word, I don't know, happy, right? You would like to show, if you would like to show some kind of emotion or some kind of reaction on some other person's message, you type the Giphy and happy, and it will show you this like small videos about like happy people, and you can choose something different by shuffle, right? Okay, I don't like this, maybe this one, or maybe this one, and I like this one, so I send it, and people in my channel will see this as it is. So this is, to make your life more colorful, I would say. I like it too.
Rachel, I have a question for you. Why do you not use why do you not integrate with Outlook and with Zoom?
I do integrate with Outlook Calendar. I do integrate with Zoom as well. But the ones that I've tried that I just didn't kind of get, I use Trello a lot, but that it just wasn't, I didn't find it useful. So I was like, nah, moving on. Google Drive, I also don't use very often. So I was like, moving on. I'm using Box right now. I'll see how that goes. We'll see. I think it's all up to personal preference and what applications you use on a daily basis, and then what the integration allows you to do, and if you find it useful. I mean, that's all individual, I think.
Yeah.
Try them out. Give it a go.
Okay.
There's one more application that I find very useful. It's called Simple Poll. You can just create a poll. Yeah, like let's say you would like to ask your team, where do you want to go for lunch, right? So what do? You just type poll, and then the question. And then answers like, I don't know, where do we want to go? Like, what do you want to eat for lunch? I don't know, A and B and C, right? And you post it, and your team has a poll, and they can vote for whatever they want. This, I think, would be useful if you have a bigger team. In like 3 people team that we have, social science research team, it's very tiny team, so we don't need a poll. But if you have like 20 people team, then it may be useful, right? If you want to find out what is people preferences. So I also found it maybe not useful but interesting.
Well, thanks, Marzena and Kristen and Rachel, for a really nice presentation. I think that it seems pretty interesting. I'm not entirely sure how we're going to be using it going forward, but who knows? I mean, we're in the era of shelter in place, so it's great to have these tools.
Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you guys.
Listening to us.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you. Great job.